going to share I'm going to share my screen. 1 second. Just open this up. Hopefully this will work this time. So please do let me know, Ricardo, if you can see my screen well here.
Yes.
Excellent. So let's just move this. I'm using one screen, so apologies for all the tabs here. So great. So today's session is all on workflows. So we'll start off by defining what an approval workflow is. Then we'll move into understanding the importance of using the right type of e-signature as part of those workflows. And then finally, we'll take a deep dive into some real life use cases to understand the full advantage of having a repeatable automated process. At the end of the session, we'll have a few minutes just for a Q&A session. So let's begin with some basics. How do we define an approval workflow? A workflow is essentially an end-to-end process that helps teams meet their goals by connecting the right people with the right data at the right time. Once this is set up, a workflow helps you organize information in a way that is not only understandable, but is also repeatable. Defining and building out automated workflows or approval workflows provides users with a powerful way to tailor and fit different departments into their specific needs, and also into a seamless process, which in turn accelerates businesses, builds trust, and drives efficiencies. Electronic signature authority requirements are integrated into all digital workflows. And here is where Adobe Sign plays a big part. So Adobe Sign's workflow capabilities allows organizations to not only capture electronic signatures and approvals with a high degree of legality and security, but it also enables users to create custom forms and predefined routing rules for their departments. So considering Adobe Sign integrates with so many leading business solutions, it is easy to connect the dots among key stakeholders whilst incorporating the Adobe Sign functionality into your favorite applications. And this is also with complex logic and rules and understanding your most challenging business needs. Before we embark on a journey of creating specific workflows, it is important to understand the weight and complexity of different e-signature types. So as part of the next slide, we're looking at a legal perspective on e-signatures. So Adobe Sign is the world's most trusted e-signature solution, and we support the broadest range of legal requirements. So different kinds of electronic signatures benefit from different legal or different levels of legal validity, and the type of e-signature you will use largely depends on the use case. So let's talk about some things to bear in mind when considering how different e-signature types help you manage risk. So different kinds of electronic signatures give you a different effect, and organizations need to know when to use the different types. So in some cases, a simple electronic signature may keep businesses move quicker, but it could also expose an organization to unnecessary risk. And in other cases, using a qualified signature will bring unnecessary complexity, cost, and slow businesses down. So how should an organization decide which type of signatures are suitable? There are 6 key questions to consider. So successful organizations make sure they have policies in place so they know how to answer these questions when these use cases come up. You can see on the screen the top or the most important key important key questions, really. So what is the likelihood of a specific signature that it might be challenged in a court of law, and what the risk is associated with that? So the answer will depend on the risk assessment and will orient you to one kind of signature or another. Do we have specific proof that the person who signed the document is the person who should have signed that document? The legal value of different signature types hinges on differences around sign authentication, so proving who signed and proving what they have signed. Can you also show that the signer intended to sign and did the signer consent to do business electronically? And also finally, are you sure that the type of document can legally be signed by an electronic signature? Some countries stipulate document types which can't be signed electronically. So can we actually use an electronic signature? So signature rules on which signature types are allowed and when are defined on a country by country basis. but also local laws also define other matters that you might need to take into consideration, and especially when operating across borders. So many people get confused about the different kinds of electronic signatures, and it doesn't help that the terminology can vary between jurisdictions and that legal and technical terms often get confused with marketing terms. So nor does it help that in common law, countries like the UK and the US, the laws around what constitutes a legal contract are very flexible and rarely oblige companies to think about different types of signatures. So compared to a wet ink signature, e-signatures are subject to some additional rules and other factors to ensure that an agreement is legally valid. Essentially, there are three key elements that should be considered, and you can see those on the page. So does local law allow e-signatures to be used for that type of document? Does local law specify a particular e-signature type for a valid agreement? And does the type of e-signature provide sufficient legal evidence if contested? So let's have a look at three different e-signature types. So generally, there's only three electronic signature types. Of course, this does vary from region to region. The broadest category of electronic signatures is often referred to as a simple electronic signature. So in many jurisdictions, an electronic signature is defined broadly to capture any electronic process that indicates acceptance of an agreement or a record. They generally require low authentication of a signer's identity, and this is normally done via an email address, and have just enough evidence to prove the signer is who they say they are. So this is a basic electronic signature. The next level up is an advanced electronic signature. And that signature captures uniquely identifies the signatory. It creates data using, it creates the data using the repository of the signatory. So whatever they have in his or her sole control. It is linked to the signer's document in a way that any subsequent change can be detectable. And they're also able to invalidate the signature in the event that the data has been changed. Now, how you achieve that level of identity assurance is often left open. So most often the requirements can be met with a specific type of digital identity or a digital certificate. And this is typically issued by a third party known as a trust service provider, or we call it short as a TSP. You can also issue it through a certificate authority in some countries. The TSP validates that the person is who they say they are and gives them a digitally signed certificate, which they can control and deploy when they sign. The final type is the qualified electronic signature. And they're very specific forms of certificates, and they are often called a digital certificate. They're the most secure type of e-signature available today because they require the use of a digital signing certificate, which is issued. Now, there's a difference. So this time it's issued by a qualified trust service provider, and that's in short as a QTSP. And they thoroughly verify the identity documentation of the signer, and they provide specifically accredited certificates, which are, again, accredited within the EU. It's important to know that a QTSP accredited in one EU member state has the same validity in any EU member state. So the nationality of the certificate should normally not be an issue. So in return of this higher level of supervision, qualified electronic signatures are the only signatures that are equivalent to a handwritten signature across the EU. So this means that whenever a national law specifies that you need to use a handwritten signature on a document, a QES can be used and will be legally valid across the EU, of course, unless the national law explicitly prevents the use of electronic signatures, which we have spoken about. So that is, in a nutshell, about legal signatures. And the next slide, I would like to talk about the workflow designer. So the Adobe Sign Workflow Designer helps you easily automate every task in a document workflow from start to finish. It is a highly intuitive process. It's anchored in a guided send experience that increases speed, reduces errors, and minimizes work. Workflow Designer has a three main concept system. So Each of those is designed to help streamline workflows. So firstly, what we need to do is map out the recipients and routing sequences, determine who should receive the document and the routing order for inputting that information, or signing a document or approving a document. Then we need to select the correct agreements and add them to that transaction. And lastly, we need to define the workflow details such as emails and reminders. Also, we need to specify what type of authentication is required, and also the security that should be attached to that document. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like in real life. So we have Sarah here. She is a HR specialist. She is sending confidential information within agreements on a daily basis. And these transactions have multiple daily sign-offs and approvals. So before an approval has been placed, the document does not go or move across to the first signer recipient. This is critical data that needs to be signed quickly. So we need to prompt our recipients to complete documents in a matter of days or hours. And she's also responsible for storing that data back on a local repository. So once everyone signs and approves, we need to store that data. It needs to go back to her, and she needs to store that on a local SharePoint drive or whatever that local repository is. So for today's example, I'm going to use an NDA approval and sign off. Just going to end my slideshow here for a second and just open up my, sorry, so many tabs open here. Let's open up our web portal experience to showcase this. Ricardo, I hope you can see the screen well. I am using one screen today and it's quite small on mine, so please do let me know if it's too small for you to view.
No, yes, for me it's okay, it's good.
Excellent. So let's start from our homepage here, and I can start my send transaction from my library. So this is where I've stored my workflows here. And I'm going to select this NDA sign-off example here. I'm going to click on start. So once I open this up, you can see automatically that I have the first two recipients have been predefined for me, and I can't adjust these or delete them. So I sort of have a controlled experience here. My vendor or the third recipient is left open because this is something that regularly changes. So let's add in here a recipient, which I'm going to predefine. And also under the HR team, I'm sending this final document to myself just for an approval to check everything is correct. My document name is predefined and my message is also predefined here. I can further adjust this on the screen because my vendors do change. Let's put Daniel's name. I have the option of setting reminders if I wanted to. So let's go and set every business day here. My files are mandatory, and you can see that I can't adjust my files here again because this is a controlled environment. So I've added my NDA agreement here, and all the fields that are part of this process that need to be adjusted by myself have been predefined here under fields. So let's add in our date. So it's the 2nd of September today, and let's add in a company name. So let's add in something. Services. We do need to enter company number. So go some quick number, and we need to enter in a address. Let's do 6 Best Drive, London. And all we need to do now is click on send. So I'm prompted now to my authoring environment just to double check one more time everything has been correctly added to my document. And I'm also presented with an option to change any information that I've already inputted. So I'm going to click on start. Everything has been done for me, and I can click to send. So let's go to Steve Walker's email address now. And you can see I've received my first approval request on the NDA agreement. So I am a legal representative that needs to check that everything on this document has been updated and is correct to today's date. I'm going to click to open up that agreement and approve it. I can review that document there and click on the Start tab here to place my approval. Once that's done, let's go to John. There we are. So this time a signature is requested on the same NDA agreement. So as a HR representative or director, I need to place an approval or signature on this document before it can go to my vendor. Once I click to review and approve, I can look through the document one more time, check everything's correct, and place my signature on this document. And click to sign. So the final vendor receives his document. That was with Daniel today. Let's open up the agreement, click to review and sign this document. The final step will include myself as a HR representative as well. And I will need to place my certified recipient approval on this document and acknowledge I have received it, and I can store that now in my local repository. You can see all the data has been pre-populated here. Everything seems to be correct. My signatories are in place. And now all I need to do is, again, click on Start and acknowledge the receipt. Going back to my web portal, I can now choose what I want to do with that document. I can download it, I can store it in my local repository, or I can start a new transaction. Just under completed here. So this is the process using the workflow designer. Let's have a look at some Microsoft integrations now. So from the previous use case, we can see that business outcomes and performance are improved when a defined workflow is in place. So removing the need for unnecessary manual tasks or inefficient or disjoint approval processes slows down every process. Adobe Sign seamlessly integrates with a whole suite of Microsoft productivity and business solutions, including Microsoft 365, SharePoint, Teams, Dynamics, Power Automate, and more. Adobe Sign for Teams is an example of bringing powerful document capabilities right inside one of the most used Microsoft tools today. Adobe Sign is the only e-signature solution that lets you work on documents, send for signature, and track the status of those documents without leaving Teams, and also without the need to launch a browser window or check your inbox. And with Adobe Sign now enabled within Microsoft Teams approval apps, you can easily add Adobe Sign into approval processes without downloading any extra codes or plugins. So let's have a look at another use case. And this time we meet Mark. Mark uses Microsoft Teams to speak with management and seek approval for his graphic design. He works for a digital marketing agency. He requires frequent design approvals. He's also using an automated process that should include designs being sent directly to a printing agency once they have been approved. So let's go to our Teams channel now and have a look at our group. So I have a group called Global Corp HR here, and I would like to send my documents from approval directly from this chat here. I can also add any of my team members that I want to inform that I'm sending off my work or design work for approval. All I need to do here is click on these three dots here, click on the Approvals tab. That will launch another window for me. I'm going to select an e-sign request type. I need to sign in. I'm going to select my Adobe Sign provider and add in the name of the request. I can add in a personalized message here. And finally, under attachments, I can select something either from Adobe Sign directly, or I can upload something from my computer. So I'm going to select a document from my computer with my designs on there. Scrolling down, I can select the role, either signer or an approver. So today I'm going to go for 2 approvers as I'm asking for an approval process. I'm going to add, again, Steve Walker as my first approver, and I want to add, actually, so I needed to change that because Steve Walker is a known user on my account. So if you do share your account with someone, it doesn't normally send for an approver. So let's add an additional approver here, and let's go for Jessica. Right, so that looks good. Let me just double check that's all correct. So once I click on the Send tab here, that will send my document over to my approvers, and you'll notice that the document will be published also under my posts. So all of my team members can see when I have sent my document off for approval. So the same process follows as we've just seen. So let's go ahead and go to Daniel's Outlook and have a look at those landing pages. And you can see the approval has just been received. You can review the document, check out the marketing designs, click on the Start tab, and click to approve. Similar process would be with Jessica. So Jessica heads up the printing department. So I want to check also if everything's correct and the right dimensions. All I need to do is review and approve. And if everything looks good, all I need to do is click on Start and click to approve. You can also see now on Teams that I'm getting notifications when the approvals have come through. So as they are coming through, I'm getting the approvals there. I can also talk to my Adobe Sign and ask for the status of my document here. Adobe Sign will ask me what document are we checking on, and that would be just called landing pages. Very quickly, it's going to come back with a response and say the landing pages have been completed today. I can, of course, do a number of different things. I can also set reminders if my document has not been completed yet, and I can also download that directly from here. I can further also check the status of other documents by going directly into the Adobe Sign tab here. We need to authorize one more time. And add in my code. And from here, I can manage my agreements directly from this tab here. Let's go back to our slides one more time. So without the correct infrastructure, data connection, and data analysis tools, enterprise businesses will not be able to provide the personalized, multimedia-driven experience that customers have come to expect on every channel. And enterprise businesses not only need to better understand the modern customer journey, they also must be able to collect data in a single holistic customer profile and have the ability to share that data and act on it in real time across multiple digital platforms. So Adobe Sign enables approvals and signing to be embedded directly into Microsoft applications and across applications to meet the need or the demand of the complex data workflows. So in the next example, we'll see how different Microsoft applications can talk to each other. In this particular case, we're looking at Power Automate, Power Apps, and SharePoint to create a seamless onboarding experience. So this example, we have Cedric. He's a HR talent coordinator, and he's also responsible for onboarding new hires. He uses various platforms that we've just mentioned to request and collect pre-hire data. So we want to see all of that seamlessly integrated with one another. The critical processes in supplying different departments with important sensitive information means he needs to get data back in a matter of days. And he also needs to meet tight deadlines for seamless onboarding experience. Such an example is, for example, payroll. So if we don't receive our payroll documents on time, then the salary might be delayed. So how does Cedric collect his new hire documents using Power Automate? Do have a very quick video on this today for you guys. Hopefully, again, you can see my screen well. So the first screen you will see will be the SharePoint instance. And we have a SharePoint list here that integrates with Adobe Sign. And on this list, we can see a number of different information. We can see the documents that have been sent out for signature. We can see who has specifically sent the document out for signature. Just make that slightly bigger. So we can see that under the talent coordinator name. We can also see the hiring manager. And on the right-hand side here, we can also see the status of all the documents that are out for signature. So we can see what's completed, what's in process, and what's not been started. So it's really easy to send a document out for signature directly from the SharePoint list. So we click on this plus new tab here, and we need to enter some basic information that is held on Workday. So let's add in some information. Let's add a first name, last name, email address, and let's add a start date, country, and hiring manager. Once everything looks good, all we need to do is click on the Save tab, and that will create a new line item at the bottom of the screen. Scrolling to the right-hand side, we can see the name of the talent coordinator that has sent off this communication out. And we can also see under agreements that none of my agreements have been completed. They yet have not been started because we've just sent the communication out. So in a moment, we'll have a look at what an email communication looks like containing all of these forms together. So going into Cedric's or new hires email, we can see there is a new email from Adobe asking to collect welcome pack documents, and it's labeled as important. Let's open that document up. So directly from here, we can see the mapped data that we have inputted onto our SharePoint list. We can see the name of the new hire. We can see the date when they will be starting their day one. We can see the office, the start time, as well as the hiring manager. Underneath here, we do see the different forms. These are all in single transactions here. So we can get those open at a different time. We don't have to do it all at the same time. And we can also see the branding on this page here has been changed. Let's open up the first form here. Complete that form quickly and click to sign. Once that's been done, let's have a look at the SharePoint instance now and see what's been updated. Moving across to the right-hand side, under agreement number 1, we can see the employee has completed that form there. It says employee complete. If the employee does not complete all of their forms in one day, they will get reminder emails. So let's have a look at that reminder email now. So it says, welcome pack outstanding actions for Cedric. If we open that email up, we can see that the first form has indeed been completed. There's a nice green tick there, and the rest of the forms are still due for completion. Every day, Cedric will receive an automated reminder prompting him to complete his forms. Once all the forms have been completed, all the green ticks will be in place. And let's have a look at what the talent coordinator will now receive once everything is done. So as talent coordinator, we need to check everything has been done correctly. So we need to review and accept that document to check if the payroll information is done correctly, if the phone number is done correctly, etc. So let's open up the agreement, check through that, have a look at the bottom as well, and click accept. Going back to our SharePoint instance now, we can see that the transactions have now been updated to transaction complete. We can also open this individual transaction here and download the attachments directly from SharePoint. Once all the documents have been completed, there will be a final summary email that will contain all the forms that the new hire has completed, and they will be attached to the very bottom of this email. We can also see a summary of all the information that has been contained in the previous emails. We have developed another capability, so a Power App that will create a seamless onboarding experience for the talent coordinator or the senders. So rather than using SharePoint, we can use Power Apps to track the progress of our agreements or approvals. So on this page, you can see the number of candidates onboarded or in progress or not started. You can also open individual candidates directly on this page here, and we can also have an overview of the transactions being completed here as well. We can also download the PDF if that's needed. We can also resend notifications if the agreements have not been completed on time. So let's say if we do cancel an agreement off, we can resend a new agreement directly from there. We have 2 employees that have been onboarded. Scrolling down, we can see those in green at the bottom. Also, all transactions are also marked here under green. And the last functionality we can do here is archive this user and send those documents to the relevant departments. So let's say yes, archive here. If we go back to our SharePoint list, we will see all the information now stored directly onto SharePoint, and all of these individual forms will be emailed to the respective department for further processing. So the badge form will be sent over to the badge department, and the payroll document will be sent over to the payroll department as well. So that brings me to the end of our use cases, and I would like to open up for any questions for today.
Thank you, Natalia. Se alguém tiver alguma questão, os microfones vão ser agora, por assim dizer, desbloqueados, e podem colocar a questão, ou se quiserem colocar, também podem colocar por chat. And also, thank you, Natalia, for your presentation. It was really helpful and really good with the use cases.
No problem.
Se alguém quiser então agora colocar alguma questão, pode colocar agora, ou então daremos por encerrada a sessão. I don't think we have any questions. I think the presentation was pretty clear, and the use cases really helped to understand how the solution works. So I guess it was perfect examples. Okay, thank you very much, Natalia, once again for your help with Adobe Sign and for your presentation. And obrigado a todos os presentes, e depois será partilhada a gravação da apresentação para que possam rever caso queiram. Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.